This week on The Deer's Cry, we learn what it means to be on mission. Let's get at it. Paraphrase a line from C.S. Lewis from his famous writing, Mere Christianity. Enemy-occupied territory. That's what this world is. And the rightful king, Jesus, has landed and has invited us to participate in a campaign of sabotage. That campaign of sabotage is bringing about his kingdom here on earth. Many of us do our own little part to participate and bring about the kingdom. Today we get to meet a great man by the name of Joe Campo, who's director of St. Francis House out of Brooklyn, New York. So let's head on over to that interview and check out the movie magic. So I'm here with Joe Campo from St. Francis House in Brooklyn. Thank you, Joe, for being with us here.
Thanks for inviting me, Tim.
No problem. So the idea of this episode that I had is being on mission, is the fact of how all us Christians were called to be on mission in our own small way that God calls us to. So most people don't know about St. Francis House. So can you tell us what is St. Francis House and what is the actual mission of St. Francis?
Sure, Tim. The St. Francis House is a home in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, for young men who need a second chance in life, sometimes a third chance in life. It was started by Father Benedict Groeschel all the way back in 1967. And he invited me to become the director of the home. He was getting ready to close it, so he couldn't find anybody crazy enough to run the house until I came along, I guess. I don't know. But, we have 7 men who live inside the house, young men, and everybody's working in school or both. But it's, a lot of them come here for economic problems. Sometimes people come here for drug and alcohol problems. Some people are just homeless, but whatever the situation is that we try to take care of them for the best, as best as we possibly can, with a spiritual tone to it, if you will, and kind of get them back on their feet or give them a chance. Maybe somebody just needs a second chance.
Yeah, I think we all need second chances at some point in life.
Right? Yeah. And it's not a shelter. I mean, people come here and they live here. It becomes their home.
Okay. Now, you were saying how Father Rochelle because I see that you became director in '92. How did you first ever become involved with St. Francis House?
Well, Tim, I had a conversion experience back in 1988. And after my conversion experience, I knew that I was going to work with the poor, or just work for God and do something. But I didn't know what I was going to do. And a friend of mine introduced me to the C.F.Rs, the Franciscan Friars of Renewal. And from the first day that I met them, we kind of hit it off, And I had a meeting with Father Benedict. At the time, I didn't know who he was. And I told him about my experience in Medjugorje and what happened, and I'm going to be doing this. And he said, I got a place for you. And it was the St. Francis home. And at the time, Tim, I was living in Long Island. We never came to Brooklyn.
Okay.
The only time we ever came to Brooklyn is if we visited some relatives who never made it out to Long Island. But it wasn't the kind of place where we would go, And it turns out he showed me the house, and, I just kind of fell in love with it. And I could see when he explained to me the love that he had for this house and the work. It was a home run. It was a fit. And I said, yes, I'll move to Brooklyn. And here we are 30 years later.
That's awesome. You talked about faith there, about conversion. Well, at some point, maybe I'll have to have you on, because I know that's one of the things people love hearing about was conversion stories. I mean, you were one of the things I saw in the description of St. Francis House is being Christ-centered,
Yes.
founded by the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal. Now, how do you incorporate faith within the house with these young men?
By example. It's really not as difficult as most people would think, But when you try to live a faithful life and you attend Mass and you go to confession and you receive the sacraments, and the young men that come here are fatherless. So I really play the father role. And we live in this fatherless society, And so they see,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And we see, and they see how important it is to me and that it's real. And we have great talks about it. I've had young men come in here that told me they were atheists, and became Catholic. And not because we shoved anything down anybody's throat, It's because by example, we lead by example. And I think for me, working here in Brooklyn, that seems to be the shortest distance between 2 points by living the life and being serious about it. I mean, if somebody was to come down the stairs in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, they would find me in front of my fireplace praying the rosary.
That is truly leading by example, because that's really truly what it is when it comes down to it. Is when we're on mission, people think, oh, it's like I have to. I was thinking about this because we're doing this interview in the middle of the afternoon, but this morning when I was going to my place of work, I was thinking of Mother Teresa and how people would first come to her when she come over and visit, and they'd be like, I want to be like you and stuff, and she'd be like, go back to your home.
Exactly.
and witness in your own house.
And witness in your own house. And so, like, I've heard people say behind my back, he's really a good man. And the only reason they say that is not because of the interaction that we have or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't leave home without him. And so because we lead by example, and of course I go to mass, and not everybody wants to go to mass all the time. As a matter of fact, sometimes I'll say, let's go, guys, we got to go. They're like, I don't want to go today. And I'm like, neither do I, but if we don't hurry, we're going to be late. And it's leading by, it's not what you want to do. It's what we need to do, and mostly everyone responds. And if they haven't made their first Holy Communion in this house, you will. You will.
That is fantastic.
You'll make your confirmation. You'll go through. They'll see that by leading by example, Tim, that it's very important to me. It's real. We're all gonna die. Let's get ready.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that's missing is the authentic example of people, because people a lot of times when they witness and stuff, I've noticed when I used to be a youth minister, people would be like, because they would see that it was like, for me, my faith, that it was real to me, that it wasn't just like I'm checking a box or I'm filling in for somebody type of thing.
How many times I've had people say to me, I go to mass, I don't get anything out of it. I say, well, it's because you're a selfish person. Selfish people really never get anything out of anything. They're just selfish. What does that mean? What does he mean? What do you mean I'm selfish? You don't go to mass to get anything out of it. You go there to put something into it. And because you don't put anything into it, you don't get anything out of it. And it's kind of like,
That's why we're called to be participants in the mass.
Participants in the mass. We're not the mass, But I think by just me, knowing that I love my faith and that it's a gift, and I always didn't have it, and now that I do have it, I think it's like, yeah, this is the right. And also, I think what they see is the joy in my heart. And I don't worry about anything. God's in control. I show up. I tell the boys the same thing. You get up in the morning, you do the best you can do. Get ready for life. Just do the best you can do. It's not all going to turn out well today.
Absolutely.
Your job is to take care of every problem that comes up. Your job is not to enjoy every joyful thing that comes up. We want you to do that. But your job is to take care, as a man, is to take care of every problem that comes up and handle it in a manly way. This is what you're called to do. God made you a man. Be a man. And our example.
A lot of people don't want to be men nowadays. A lot of within our manly society.
No, because they don't have a good father figure to show them how to do that. You come to the St. Francis house, you learn how to chop wood.
I saw that. I saw that online. That was pretty cool.
It is cool, and you know what? They think it's cool too, and it is. And like, I don't hand them a gigantic axe the first time out. They'll cut their leg off. And so, very careful and start with a small one. We work our way up. But once they start chopping that wood and it starts splitting, all of a sudden everybody's shirt comes off and they're big men again, But that's what they're supposed to do. They can flex a little muscle, right?
Yeah, I saw that picture on Instagram the other day that it was you guys had because if people are watching this in the future or whatever, this is during COVID times, and how you guys are all, everybody's basically close in, but you had the guys outside, what, on the heavy bag, working on the
Yeah,
heavy.
one guy was on a heavy bag, another guy was working out with weights, Another guy was on his phone. You'll always have that, But the fact is that they were all taking turns on the heavy bag, because I think it's extremely important that during these times, strange times, that they need to be outside, breathing fresh air, taking your vitamins, getting a lot of exercise, getting a lot of vitamin D from the sun, and let's go. I mean, what are we gonna do? Sleep all day? Watch TV?
This
Let's
is
go.
true.
You're men. Let's go. Let's go do something.
Now, when we point people to the website and they see you on there, they're going to see that 3 letters behind your name, the SFO. I know,
Yes.
but a lot of people aren't going to really know is that that's for the secular Franciscan order. Now, can you speak to
Yeah,
like how that
sure.
within your own life speaks into like your ministry that you do there?
Yeah, SFO means Secular Franciscan Order, which means I'm a Franciscan. But I live in the world. I don't live in a monastery. And so I'm a secular Franciscan. And it means that I follow the rule of St. Francis in my life. I do my daily prayers. I do all the things that the friars do, except I live in the world. And so I've been a secular Franciscan now for over 20 years. And you take the promises, almost vows, but not really, of poverty, chastity, and obedience according to your way of life. And for me, less is more. So it works out fine. I mean, I fit right in there. I mean, if I was called, if I tried to be, a Dominican or something like that, it just wouldn't be natural, It just wouldn't be natural. So this is, less is more, and Franciscans think that way, and, poverty according to your state of life. I mean, I don't go out and frivolously go to the mall and just buy things to buy things. We buy what we need,
Okay.
and through the grace of God, we have everything we need. We don't have everything we want, but we have everything we need. This is a beautiful thing,
Mhm. Amen. Um, Now, what's the day-to-day life there at at St. Francis House with the guys?
Yeah, it's not much different than any normal kind of house. People get up in the morning and they, have their breakfast. They get ready for work, school, and they're out all day.
Okay.
Right now we have home. We're not used to having everybody home at the same time, so we start to bang into each other after a while. It's not a very big house, but it's just a normal day. And then people come home and we have dinner together just about every night,
Okay.
which is extremely important for discussion. How did your day go? What problems come up during the day, and how can we work together to solve them? And it's extremely important that we work together, a unit as a family. This is a family type environment. Even though I'm a secular Franciscan, it's not run like the secular group homes, if you will.
Hmm.
Everybody must be working. Everybody must participate in things. People don't go to their rooms and hibernate.
Okay.
Rooms are for one thing: sleeping at night. That's it.
That's a good idea. You can't go hiding away somewhere.
Yeah. People do isolate. I understand that when they first come here, and sometimes it's extremely difficult for someone who's not very, very sociable. And, I mean, you don't have to be very, very sociable to sit in a room. You can just sit in a room and be with other people and listen to what they say. If you want to participate, you can. If you don't want to, that's okay too. It's entirely up to you, but you can't isolate. You can't be, an idle hands, idle mind is the work of the devil. You will
That
find
is
something to do,
mhm. That
and
is
it might
true.
not be, yeah, right. And it might not be good for your soul,
Yeah. Now, people watching this, how can people go about in some ways helping out with, if any way, with St. Francis House?
Great question. This is a great question. Since 1967, we have literally survived only on one thing: donations. We don't take any money from the state. We don't take any money from the government. We don't take any rules from them either. Yeah, it's just a home. So if anybody wants to help in any way, they can go to the website, stfrancisHouseBrooklyn.com, and they can find us, go on the web. But we're always in need of financial support, just because, I mean, I just wrote a check yesterday for the insurance just to keep the house going. And We're in New York, and these are thousands and thousands of dollars, And if anybody out there has any kids and they know what it is to have, between 5 and 7 guys in the house, the food bill is very expensive here.
How many guys? How many
Usually,
boys?
well, we usually have 7, but I also have another 3 to 5 out as an outside ministry who come over and eat and maybe stay on the weekend, and yet, they don't actually live here. We used to have 15, but now I downsized.
As being a father of 2 teenage boys, I feel like my other place that I go to constantly is the grocery store.
That's right.
I can't imagine feeding 7
every day.
Every day.
And
you must say the same thing that I say almost every day. I just bought that. How is that gone?
Well, usually what I like to say is, where did you put that? Like, how did you just eat that? I mean, I literally, they're young. I mean, it's like, we can have a whole dinner here, and 20 minutes later, it's like somebody's hungry again.
That's usually about 5 minutes afterwards. I'm hungry.
Yeah, exactly. And this is like, I have full dinners here. We don't just eat hot dogs at night. I mean, I make full dinners. This is a family. We sit down and we have dinner. It's usually, and I make a big deal out of it. And dinner starts around 5, ends around 6:30. Then there's a cleanup till 7. This is where we spend our time together. This is our sort of like our family time. And jokes are told all the time. And it's not the time to have discussions where we're going to have an argument. There's time after that. We'll go outside, light a fire, and sit in front of the house. We have a yard, and the other night we spoke there till 11:30 at night. They just kept putting logs on the fire, and we just kept on talking about things that people were struggling with. But that's not at the dinner table. There's a time and place for everything.
Yeah, and that just witness is great by itself, just for talking with the guys and just letting people be heard and talking with them. Now, what would you say to someone who wants to, just within their own community, help out, like, of doing stuff? I mean, being someone who's always been kind of on mission, what's a way that you would say to someone else how to get involved in doing something along those lines?
I think we're all on a mission. Mine's at the St. Francis house, and then maybe, there's something that goes on in your neighborhood or your church or your town where people do need help. There's food pantries, there's just so many things to do. There's AA meetings that need to be, a place to have an AA meeting with people. I mean, there's people where they can just donate to their own St. Francis house somewhere along the line, in their own neighborhood, maybe in their own family.
This is so true. All right. Well, I thank you for being with me on the show. This is the first one that I did for being on mission. I want to have these episodes where I feature people who, like yourself, are in their own way trying to, build up the kingdom of God here on earth in their own small little way. So I want to thank you for what you're doing. I'm hoping maybe in some ways this little podcast that I actually have here might actually throw a few bucks your way, because I could just imagine that grocery bill I keep thinking about with 7 guys. That's just amazing.
Something I wanted to put it also. Somebody had told me this. This wasn't my own idea. I had a couple of guys over here from a Forsati group, and they were just talking, and we had some wine and praying and so forth. But anyway, somebody had said something to me on the way out the door. He really appreciated being here. He goes, Joe, when men get together, things happen. And I said, that was brilliant. I'm going to remember that.
That is so true for community, because me and a couple of guys have gotten together. We started with doing a couple of us started with doing Exodus 90 a couple of years, I think 2 years ago. And now those same guys formed up with a bunch of other guys, and we created another group where we get together and pray the rosary every Friday. I'm the old man of the group because all the guys are in their 20s. I'm the one in the 40s.
Listen, they need a leader. That's fine. That's perfect. I mean, listen, some of the guys here call me grandpa. I mean, affectionately, because I raised their fathers and their uncles. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, my guys tease me too. My guys tease me too, in a good way. But
it's a good way. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I don't mind having that role in some
lead. Yeah, somebody's got to lead, and that's perfect.
So again, I want to thank you for being with us, and I'll push everyone towards your website. Make sure you guys that are watching this, go check out. I'll have the links down below or in the show notes. So thank you again, Joe, and we'll talk again another time.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tim. I'm grateful. I appreciate it. God bless you.
Same to you, brother.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Deer Scribe. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I want to thank Joe Campbell for joining us today. This was a great episode. And if you can, go check out the links below or the ones that I have attached here in the comments. And go check out stfrancisbrooklyn.com and help them out if you can. Again, if you like this video, share it with your friends. Thanks for joining us again. We'll catch you around next time. Peace.